is SHE capital IS, in a cool little logo. It's a nonprofit organization based in New York and Toronto, and I'm reading from Shelley's notes to me, whose mission is to expose girls to what is possible for them in sport. They do this by partnering with ambassadors and organizations like the WNBA Players Association, the NWSL, USTA, WWE, etc., and provide tickets to games and activation events around the games. The partnership with Shelley Bean provides them the opportunity to reach an even younger audience than they have targeted in the past. Shelley's really excited about this. And also, Shelley's books are just added to the HRC Welcoming Schools recommended list. That list is also endorsed by the National Education Association. It's been a very good month for Shelley and for her books. Reminder, go to ShelleyBeanTheSportsQueen.com. Use a promo code TalkNorth. You will get 20% off your books, packages of books, promotional items, and Shelley will autograph anything that you buy when you use that promo code and send it out to you. So cool stuff. Also, check out the She Is website. It's got Shelley and her books listed on here. It's got a lot of great female ambassadors, a lot of great athletes, and explains exactly what the organization does. It's cool stuff. Congratulations to Shelley. So James Wade coming in, and he has Chicago in the playoffs. Do you think he's a coach, and we're going to recuse you for this conversation? Do you think he's a coach of the year candidate?
I'm okay with that. I think he's absolutely got to be a coach of the year candidate. He's got his team playing so well. This has been a really tough stretch for them. They've had, I think it was 4 or 5 games ago when we looked at the remaining schedules. They had the toughest schedule of any team that was left, and it would be a very defining time for their team. And so the definition, I think, of the Chicago Sky is that they're for real, and they've showed that in beating Washington at home. They beat LA at home, and they're playing well. They know what their identity is. They've come a long way from the beginning, and they're going to challenge us. They've got tremendous action in transition. They got 3 of the top 10 players in fast break point. So we're going to have to get back. They play well in drag screens in their early offense. Diamond to Shields is a handful. Obviously Courtney Vandersloot, just named player of the week, had a near triple double average in the last week of play. Allie Quigley, I think we know from seeing her in that 3-point shooting contest, every time she lets it go, you fear it's going in. And they're just a team that's playing well. They're playing for each other, and I think he's done a great elevating that franchise. And obviously, we're going to see if we can't slow the roll here tomorrow night. It'll be would be a great statement win for us if we can pull it off.
I used to vote on baseball's postseason awards before I decided I just didn't think that was the right thing for me to do. And I know one of the things I struggled with was coach or manager of the year. Do you give it to the person whose team had the sharpest uptick, or do you give it to the person who wins championships? And that's tough, because so often we say, hey, this is great. This person took a mediocre or an average team and elevated them. But then what do you do with the person who just wins year after year? Do you have a philosophical thought on that?
I think it could, I certainly understand being how hard it is to win each year. So I definitely have, maybe an affinity for that coach that can do that. I don't think we have any team right now that would kind of bill. I think it's more about, which team or which coach elevated their team to the highest level. I mean, I think that, certainly James would be in that. I think you also have to look at who has the good players and who should be winning. Like in LA. LA should be winning. Look at their roster. Las Vegas Aces have some of the best players in the league. I mean, look at their front line. They should be winning. It's not easy to do when you're supposed to win, but you have a better chance than, say, teams that have less talent. I think Dan Hughes in Seattle ought to be considered. That was a team that lost so much. In Brandon Stewart and Sue Bird, Jewel Lloyd missed extended time. Obviously, Dan Hughes missed time in the beginning, and I know what he gave when he was not allowed to coach. I know he was still giving of himself, and that's a team that's been really difficult to play. So I think certainly he should be in consideration. I think Mike Tebow should have the best team in the league. So as much as I have a lot of respect for Mike, I think it's really more about, the coaches like Dan, like James, that have been able to elevate their teams from either from where they were before in Chicago's case or in Dan's case to, I think, overcome adversity.
I want to throw a stat at you. I want to talk about Whalen briefly and then preview tomorrow night's game a little bit. We're talking here on Monday afternoon with Cheryl Reeve. First, I want to thank Cara Quinn, your Minneapolis realtor, 612-203-7657, 612-203-7657. Cara, C-A-R-A, at brickandbannister.com. She's on Facebook. She's on Zillow. She's on Instagram. She recently took another trip to Italy where she fell in love with architecture. She loves the architecture in and around the Twin Cities. She can help you find your dream house. Again, Cara at brickandbannister.com, 612-203-7657. She's been supporting the show for quite a while now. And if you go to brickandbannister.com/Cara Quinn, you will find her origin story as a local realtor. Check her out, and thank you to Cara. So, according to your PR staff, which we know is always right, Thursday's win was Minnesota's 214th since the start of the 2011 season, making it the most prolific 9-year run of victories in WNBA history, and the previous was 213 by Minnesota from 2010 to 2018. What does that number mean to you?
Oh, it makes me incredibly proud. It makes me think about, just the 2011 team that really defined our franchise in terms of our culture. How we're going to be successful. How we do it just has mattered so much to us. The type of people, how hard we work for each other, and so that's what it means to me. Is that when you have that, buy-in to what it takes, the intangibles. Certainly you're not a pro unless you have talent. But how are we going to do this thing? And the way we treat each other, all that. That's what I think of. It's just a belief that we all have in each other, and we've had for a long time. And I think the other thing is what I think about is the sacrifices, that we all have made in the name of making this franchise one of the gold standards in the league. There's a lot that goes into that, and so I feel proud when I hear those sorts of numbers.
Speaking of someone who helped make the franchise what it is today, Lindsay Whalen, another jersey retirement. If I have the countdown, her number has been retired with the Connecticut Sun, with the Minnesota Lynx, with the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and at Hutchinson High. Can we get her to double digits?
I think so. Where's the AAU team? We got to certainly. There's got to be teams when she was younger that need. I think one that she would be thrilled. I think we'd have to have another Gophers jersey if she can pull it off as a coach. I think that would be the next one.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I go for maybe a Gopher business jacket, something like
there
that.
You go.
Just to add on. Yeah, absolutely. So just give us a quick preview of what you expect on Tuesday night against a good Chicago team that's very well coached by James Wade.
Well, the first part of it, like I mentioned, is that they're so explosive in transition. Diamond DeShields, quite possibly, is the best athlete that we have in our league. Her ability to get end to end, to kind of glide and float through the air when she's in traffic, that's going to be a big time challenge for us. So we have matchup issues on the perimeter. They're really good in the ways that they're going to spread you out on offense. And when you have a tremendous shooter like Allie Quigley, you've got a tremendous point guard like Vandersloot who gets everyone involved. And then obviously I think Stephanie Dolson on the inside is always a handful. She's playing well. I think James is bringing out the best in her. They are dealing with a lineup change with an injury. Now Estu Indor is a Spanish player who was kind of the go-to player for that national team. She's somebody that is a handful. She's going to be an offensive rebounder. She's has ability to space the floor. So I think really the challenge is the balance. You can't focus just on one thing with Chicago. If you do, they have other ways to beat you. So that's probably the biggest thing. I think we feel confident in the ways that we can exploit their defense. So I think it's going to be a back and forth game, and hopefully we can make shots to stay with them, and hopefully at some point our defense can take over.
I remember the season opener, Vandersloot and Quayle were really hot early, and you got a little hot, and you guys clamped down and you pulled away. But early on, they were scary.
Yeah, that's kind of who they are. I mean, they just can hurt you in so many ways. They've always been really good offensively. It's always been a challenge for us. There were games last year. I think they won 12 or 13 games last season and missed the playoffs. But that was a non-playoff team that we said just offensively were so good and such a challenge for us. And that hasn't changed. And, I think James has just done a great job, providing them stability, consistency in the way he approaches them. And they're believing. So it's going to be a tough game.
Well, I'll see you Tuesday night at Target Center. We'll do another show on Friday to preview your Sunday game. And thanks for everything, as always, Cheryl. For everybody who listens, thank you. You can subscribe to this show and the network on your favorite podcast app, Talk North or the Cheryl Reeve Show, and we appreciate you listening. Thanks again to Cara Quinn, to Gloria Ramsey and SuccessfulMarketingGroup.com, and to Shelley Boyan Breen and Shelley being the Sports Queen Sportsbooks. We'll talk to you later this week.